Welcome to Modern Stoic Insights, guys. Picture this each time you take a stroll into a space where she is unable to look away. She thinks about you all the time, wondering why you haven't sent her a text message. Return, and she experiences an fierce enthusiasm that she can't quite explain. How high-value guys understand to elicit this response if you believe it's just about your appearance or financial status. I'll remember the point, and I'll reveal to you the mysteries that transcend the obvious unpredictability's power section. 1. The strength of unpredictability. Well, let's get started. Looking more closely at this, one of the largest reasons why women are valued by males. Their obsession is mastering the skill of unpredictable. A lot of men make the error of being too accessible and as well foreseeable. Consider it if you're continually responding to texts in a matter of seconds, appearing every time she makes a call, or arranging your whole routine around her. In essence, you are conveying a message that she has discovered there is no riddle to solve, and if there is, women are drawn to it because it's thrilling, and the excitement of the contrary. To high-value guys, unknown, recognize that predictability is deadly. Attraction they keep hidden, whole hand, rather than adhering to the tendencies that the majority of males follow their own timetable, which they don't hurry to answer all texts, or go above and beyond, going above and above to be accessible anytime she's free, as they own their own goals and objectives that arise throughout life. First, this does not imply that they disregard her. It indicates that they are picky about when and how they interact. Sometimes they may react promptly, and at other times this might take many hours or perhaps a day. Prevents her from asking why you're unique and your activities. When a woman is unsure about her, supports you, or is unable to forecast your next, it sets off a psychological response. She starts to examine each detail, replay talks, and overthink the reason you haven't sent her a text. She begins to need your attention once you return, not as a result of your gaming, but because you don't live your life around. She respects her because of that. Despite her refusal to acknowledge it, this unpredictability is very effective. When you pair it with sincerity, avoid trying to seem enigmatic for the purpose of it, rather than filling out your living with very interesting stuff, whether you're working out or going to the gym, either working on a project or spending time with friends. The busier you are, the more you give your all to your hobbies. Moreover, it demonstrates that you're a guy with depth for a guy who doesn't just sit around awaiting her next move. For instance, let's assume she messages you at 10 o'clock. I'm asking what you're doing rather than responding right away, and offering her all of your weight till the next morning to pay attention to. When you reply, make it informal, such as, I suddenly saw that your text was coming to an end. How is your evening? This demonstrates some effort. You're not just waiting around. It makes the impact for her text that you lead a life of your own. And when she recognizes that she will be interested and want to learn more about what's being keeping you occupied. But use caution here. Being unpredictable does not imply that you may completely vanish or begin playing silly games. Is about finding your equilibrium. Want to maintain enough consistency so that she is aware of your attraction but remains aloof. Sufficient to keep her wondering. She can't stop wondering what you're anticipating and participating in the next time she sees or hears from. You're in part 2, learning how to. Developing the skill of purposeful distance, purposeful separation. Let's now elaborate on this idea of distance because, when used appropriately, it's an effective instrument for producing attraction. First, recognize that this has nothing to do with ignoring her or being unavailable at all times. The goal is to establish a feeling of autonomy and liberty in your high-value, dynamic guys are aware of it. The presence of a woman in their presence or constant communication, she does not have the opportunity to overlook them or really enjoy the space that enables her to time to ponder, contemplate, and most significantly, she will desire when you provide her space because it lets her imagination run wild. She starts to think about you more, crazy. Often questions what you're doing, and why haven't you contacted me? It's throughout these silent times that she starts to inquire about how she feels about you without. She doesn't understand the distance chance to experience that desire or expectation. When you are accessible all the time, she is too busy to miss you, and that's what keeps her emotions on the high-value males on the surface. Exploit this to their benefit, that they don't look in every day, and they don't organize their all week long, adjusting to her routine. They perhaps go a few days without contacting her and enabling her to start first make contact, and once she does, that's when you are aware that she is considering you, and I am missing you. But this isn't, it's just about making her miss you, about preserving your identity. When you put your own life first and interests, you organically make room and distance, which is what results in a stronger bond without even attempting. You let her know you're not in a dire situation. For her consideration, which makes her want for even greater deliberate detachment, implies managing your own energy as well. Once you get back in touch with her, you bring something fresh and captivating for the table, maybe a tale from your week, or something fresh accomplishment or pastime you've been. Taking care of this demonstrates to her that although you cherish the time you spend with her, you're also ability to improve your personal life. As a separate example, suppose that you and this lady had a fantastic weekend, together rather than messaging right away. Give it a little time the next morning. Allow her to dwell with the recollection of the don't instantly fill that out this weekend. Space with light conversation or affirmation when keep it light when you message her at last. For example, they had a terrific time the other day. I hope this week gets off to a wonderful start for you. Is self-assured, informal, and doesn't much investment in being near you. Men of worth are aware that space produces attractiveness when she's given the opportunity to. She misses you, and her affections for you grow, and grow more purposeful and focused. Distance has nothing to do with manipulation, which is about keeping a wholesome feeling of being unique, is about making sure that both of you have the time and room to enjoy the times when you do visit together, as opposed to turning it into a consistent each-day routine. This equilibrium is what sustains her. Curious, wondering, and eventually more invested in, you are in Section 3. Impact of emotions on physical attractiveness, influence of emotions on physical. Most males go here for the attraction. Incorrect. They believe that physical attraction alone might cause a woman to get fixated. Certainly looks nice when exercising, and she may notice you if you dress well, but should you want for her to get really involved, you must establish an emotional connection with her. Men of great worth recognize that women are motivated by emotions, and when they tap, this is the end of the game. Consider this. A lady could find you attractive to a man's appearance, but what maintains her, he makes her feel like returning. If you can give her a sense of specialness recognized and valued in ways that do other males not establish a more profound emotional bond, this does not imply complimenting her profusely. Anyone do it. It only requires being present and mindful throughout the crucial times for instance, rather of just informing her she looks excellent, pay attention to the little details. Praise the way she chuckles or the manner she discusses a topic she's being enthusiastic about. It demonstrates that you're seeing beyond the obvious when she senses that you really get it. Observe her for more than just herself. Seems like she's going to feel something deeper, and that connection is that deeper that produces connection. But here's the catch. You to maintain that relationship with IND. You don't want to get dependent on her. Emotional support system, or an individual who's always accessible when she needs a boost to create such moments of emotion count, but don't go overboard so she can see that your life is apart from hers, and knowing your purpose is not to make her always feel pleased when she detects that you're still emotionally accessible. She will pursue that emotion on her own, desiring to feel that high again. She benefits by being with you, for instance. During a chat, and she talks about something. Don't simply nod and agree, personal. Ask her more deeply why it is important to her, what it means for her, or how it formed her. Her future demonstrates sincere curiosity, and she will experience that emotional bond with you, but don't always do this. Change things up sometimes and continue talking, light-hearted and enjoyable, leaving her unsure of whether she will bond deeply with another you. The art of non-V validation in Section 4. High-value males are aware of that. When used sparingly, validation turns into a strong instrument. Most men make the error of always aiming for a woman's acceptance, if it's by way of excessive praises that consistently agree with her, or seizing every opportunity to provide her with. Pay attention to the issue with this strategy is that it demonstrates your over-eagerness and that you prioritize her acceptance above your own. Women's self-worth is often interpreted as a high-value man's indication of insecurity. They don't have to ask for approval from anyone because they feel safe in their own worth and intention while practicing. You issue a modest but non-V validation request. Significant indication that you are not other guys rather than pursuing her. Approval, you stay unconcerned about keep your cool and remain collected. And don't respond to her efforts to acquire your focus, which generates a feeling of she has an innate interest and curiosity, starts to question why you're not responding. This mystery, like other guys, is what makes you unique and the reason she turns into committed to obtaining your approval. The secret is to validate yourself uncommon and significant when you do offer her. Make sure to pay attention in a considerate manner. Sincere praise ought to feel like they're earned, so you don't have to, should never give her praise or acknowledge her respect her efforts, but those instances need to be sufficiently rare that when they do happen, and they are very important. Consider it if you give her a lot of praise each time you see her, they lose their significance. But if you wait and only provide sincere, considerate compliments, she will appreciate it when it really counts. A lot more engaging in non-validation. For instance, suppose you see that she's obviously geared up for a night out, exerting effort as an alternative to admitting it right away with a generic remark. Take a look at her. While participating in the discussion without bringing up her presence at a later on, when she doesn't anticipate it, say something along the lines of, "I really like how you exude confidence in this way," indicates that you're not paying attention to her. Glances at her presence alone, but also attitude, that praise will stick in her memory as it's uncommon and significant. Additionally, engaging in non-validation does not imply being distant or aloof all the time. The time it takes to value your focus, and selectively providing it, you're establishing a setting in which she must strive for your acceptance, which makes her feel committed. Once she starts to invest endeavor to get your approval of it, establishes a dynamic in which she works to not the other way around, but to impress you. Absence of strategy. Section 5. Strategic absence and the concept of scarcity states that basic idea in psychology, people cherish what they consider to be uncommon or difficult to get. High-value males are aware of feel they are being too accessible reduces their perceived worth. If you're always present and accessible, there isn't a chance for. The purpose isn't to play, it's to make her miss you. difficult to get, but to start a life when you're really preoccupied with your own priorities, which inevitably leads to periods of absence that helped her to understand and yearn for your presence more. The goal of strategic absence is to construct thrill and eagerness when you spend time together and make the most of it. Be captivating and leave a lasting impression. Moments that have a lasting impact. However, after you've had a fantastic time, return and give her room, please. Fill the void right away with SMS or calls. Enable her to consider the spending time with her and allowing her to, I'm curious as to why she hasn't contacted you. During this time of absence, the emotional desire starts to develop. She begins to relive the events in her mind, considering the things you said and her feelings when you were around. Additionally, the skill of strategic absence is about using your exchanges rather than establishing another date immediately after the previous one. Allow her to make the first move to get in touch. It's a clue if she makes contact first. She's missing you and thinking about you. By letting her take the initiative. Occasionally, you might establish a dynamic in which she feels a stake in maintaining the relationship. Alive. Vanishing is not the goal. It's all about demonstrating that you respect your time and don't be in a hurry. Accessible at all times, for instance. Let's claim that you had a great time with her on a Saturday evening rather of sending her an SMS. The next morning, a generic had a nice time last night. Give her a few days to dwell with the recollection when you eventually text her on Tuesday. Keep things light and informal. I hope you're having a fantastic start to the week. Begin. This demonstrates that you're not eager to get her attention and that there are other priorities in your life. Strategy makes use of the strength of excitement when you produce moments of absence, makes her more sensitive. Devoted to the upcoming conversation, she'll begin anticipating your messages, or you're there because it's not assured, and the fact that it is scarce makes it more valuable. Keep in mind that high-value men recognize that space attracts. It provides her with the time and chance to section on missing you and craving your presence. 6. Constructing emotional. One kind of exclusivity is emotional exclusivity. Of the most effective methods for establishing an enduring influence on a woman's psyche, women by nature are emotional creatures. If you may offer a feeling of emotional stability and depth that she can't find with anybody else, she'll feel a close relationship with you. High-value males realize that it's not only about being there physically, it's about establishing a feeling of emotional connection that feels personal and unique. To develop emotional exclusivity, you must demonstrate to her your capacity for very significant discussions that go outside of the most males discuss surface-level topics, level subjects like hobbies or high-level jobs. Conversely, value guys are able to go further into important subjects like life objectives, aspirations, and anxieties. When you reach out to her on this level, begins to believe that she is alone. Who gets to see this aspect of you? She feels selected because of this, and unique. But the secret here is to progressively expose these emotional layers. Avoid jumping into lengthy discussions or present everything at once rather than letting. She earned these opportunities to interact by doing this, you establish a feeling of she is aware of exclusivity and that the version she sees that none of you are accessible to everyone, which gives her a sense of equality. Additional invested. It's similar to removing the onion's layers. The more time she spends with you, the more she feels she's approaching the center, and it makes her desire more examples. Imagine that you are conversing, and she makes a reference to her. Instead, it was her early years that molded who she is. Of just agreeing or putting up a front, engage her with a level remark by stating, "That's fascinating. I had a comparable encounter, but it's something I don't discuss much more than that." This is an open-ended remark that leaves her curiosity about it grows, captivating and establishes the framework for deeper discussions in the future. She will want to achieve that level. Lack candor on your part, which results in an emotional connection. Okay, men, if you want to take command and transform into the sort, women can't help but recall that it's everything about how you hold yourself and how you think you yourself. Now, if you found this video entertaining, make sure to click like and subscribe for further information on mastering attractiveness and leading a life of great worth. Leave a remark below with one item. What do you believe makes a guy really irresistible? I'd love to know what you think. See you in the next one.